everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after the Winnipeg Jets get off the schneid and back into the win column after 3 straight losses. And you know what? If you're going to have a post-game show, a post-game podcast, and you're going to say things like, the team's got to be better here, you got to be better there, you have to be open to being better yourself. And I just want to say, the last show that we did, I thought having a staircase behind me would add some depth to the shot. We were having a hard time getting a good shot going on there. And so I thought that would maybe, instead of made it look like maybe a serial killer was going to stalk me at some point. And it also created a perfect, audio tunnel so that they could just pipe the vacuum straight down into the microphone. So Renny needed to be better. So today he said, I'm going to be better. So here I am coming from broadcast booth 7 in Philadelphia. Why? Because I'm a broadcaster. You may have seen me, on a show called Hockey Night in Canada before. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Yeah, you did. You know that. So this is where the broadcasters go. This is where the national media goes. When Ken gets here, I'm sure you'll see him from press row with all the other ink-stained wretches, where he belongs, where his takes belong. So let's just get some of my takes in here before he hits the buffet with those ink-stained wretch press row takes. Taking a look at a lot of the things that people are saying here tonight. And there's a lot of, I would say the general mood is we're back, baby. Yelled from the top of the mountain with a Mountain Dew in one hand and an air horn in the other. Seems to be the general consensus of what's going on here. I've seen a lot of people here tonight also kind of comparing this game to the last game against the Philadelphia Flyers, and essentially, saying that they saw an entirely different Jets team. I gotta say, I don't necessarily agree with that take out there. I take a look at this game here tonight, and I think if one team was radically different, it was the Philadelphia Flyers. So a lot of you think that it was the Jets. I think it's the Flyers. Only one of us can be right. Let's just say Renny's right on this one. And I'm going to break it down for you and suggest why. I actually thought that we were getting ready to be treated to one heck of a hockey game in that first period. I thought we were seeing a really good push from the Philadelphia Flyers. Then the Winnipeg Jets get their chance on the first power play. Boom, it's in the back of the net. Thought there was still a good push by the Flyers. I thought we were all going to be, eating up a really good, hotly contested hockey game. And you know me, I'm in it for the good hockey. I get it. And I know people like Gift Guy out there, he's always telling me about, sending me stuff about how his heart can't take all this. My advice for all you folks out there who live and die, who are happy when the Jets win, sad when they lose, don't let a hockey team control your emotions. No one should control your emotions. You should be the master of your own domain. But I guess here I am trying to dole out life advice to all of you. And I was a little bit upset here because I thought, I was here to watch a good hockey game. I thought it started out that way. Then that second call, the tripping call on Neil Pionk. Now, I know a lot of you folks out there were screaming from the rooftops when you didn't think the Jets were getting calls for the longest time when their power play went a little bit south, which we will clearly talk about coming up in this show here. I thought that I don't bring up the refs often here. I only bring it up here because I think the hockey game turned on a dime after the tripping call on Neil Pionk. I thought that was just an absolutely ridiculously soft call. I said it in the moment. Ken disagreed. He's got his right to be wrong. He can come defend that right later on in the show here. Bad call, ends up in the back of the net. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is where you should, as Winnipeg Jets fans, be extremely happy with your hockey team, the team that you root for. Because what we saw after that was the Philadelphia Flyers essentially pack up their bags, tuck their skates into the little skate sleeves on the side and slip out the back door of the building. I don't know who that was on the ice for the last 2 periods, but it seemed to me like the Philadelphia Flyers didn't enter the game after that, waved the white flag, and it was all over after that. Second period, I know people are loving the Kyle Connor goal where he burst down the wing. That's not that's Kyle Connor when he's got the speed and he blows by guys and it's great. But the defending on that play is subpar NHL, right? Like that shouldn't happen. The Adam Lowry goal, if you go back and you look at it, Adam Lowry skates untouched right down the middle of the ice. Scott Arneal talked about the Winnipeg Jets tonight and defending the middle of the ice. Well, I think they did do that. We'll talk to that as well. But this was a play where this is elementary stuff. You can see Travis Konechny is supposed to have his guy. He lets him go right in there, tries to lift his stick at the last second. If you see him after that goal slashing his stick over the side of the net, it's because he knows it's an absolutely terrible play on his part, and that goal is entirely his fault, and he's probably going to get a talking to by John Tortorella after that. But there was Johnny Lou was up with us, his camera guy Freddie, my camera guy Colin, Ken. We were all watching this game and likened it to kind of like a lightly played senior hockey game after that second period and on. Now, I would say, that was my kind of take. And so out of curiosity, I went and I took it and I wanted to get different sources out of this. But it was described by one of the local media here and not directly to me. He was talking on a podcast. It wasn't the Kenny and Renny show. So, I mean, you don't need to worry about who it was. But he was talking on that show, said he thought that this was absolutely the worst performance put on by the Philadelphia Flyers this year. Now, I thought that was a little kind of too much because I thought that there were some good pushes by them at times in this game, and some things about their structure actually kind of challenged the Jets. You'll notice the Jets tried to exit the zone a number of times tonight, and Philadelphia was forcing turnovers right back into the slot area. Like, not only were they bad, turnovers that were, interrupting the Jets, but they were putting the puck right into really dangerous spots. So I actually went and I checked with an NHL official who does games here and watches this team play all the time, and is, a guy who's like, as an NHL official, he works for the league. He's like trying to make sure that the game goes off without a hitch and all these different kind of things. And I said, hey, I know you're not an analyst, but put on your analyst hat. Someone's telling me this is the worst game played this season by the Philadelphia Flyers. Is that what you saw? And it was, he actually did a great job. I was thinking, of auditioning him if he moves up to Winnipeg. I think maybe we could get Kenny out of that chair and put this guy in that chair. But what he had said was the Philadelphia Flyers, and the mark of the Philadelphia Flyers is that they're a team that no matter what happens, they fight and they grind and they do that. And he said there was just absolutely none of that. So this was, I think, what's stark for this game, where you had fans booing the team quite often throughout the game, was that there just wasn't a feeling that this was the Philadelphia Flyers putting in an honest effort on this night. That seemed to be the consensus. I think that you would find their coach would agree with it, as he answered only 2 questions, said whatever he's saying, there's no use in putting it in the media. There's nothing he can say that's in the media that's going to come out well on this. So I would say this: be happy that your Winnipeg Jets are the kind of team that would not mail it in the way they did there. Be happy that the Winnipeg Jets are a team that slowly went to work on trying to rebuild and find again their power play, which is, close to being historic, or maybe it still is at the top of history, is the best power play. I don't know what that mark is. I know it's over 30% and they're close. But, be proud that they fought their way back, and now they look like they're absolutely on fire and have a power play that can win them games once again, like it basically did on this night. But I personally would caution, don't be taking a look at the Winnipeg Jets and thinking that what they did on this night compared to what they did against the New York Islanders was an entirely different level shown by the Winnipeg Jets. I do think they took steps forward. I also think this was an example of all those people out there who say the Winnipeg Jets are in first, and every single game they get the opposition's very, very best. This is a perfect example of sometimes you get opposition that just don't have it, choose not to have it, maybe can't handle the trade down. I don't know what happened to Philadelphia Flyers tonight, but the Philadelphia Flyers were not a challenge for the Winnipeg Jets, and I personally think it was more of a problem for the Philadelphia Flyers than it was a breakout game for the Winnipeg Jets. That's my take on the whole thing. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business for his take on the whole thing. Here comes Kenny, folks. Ken, it is basically sacrilege for someone like Wild Bill to say this. What could we get if we traded Renny? I don't think he really thinks that. But what I do think is he likes the idea of maybe seeing me crying a la Wayne Gretzky at the press conference as I'm set out of town. The sadistic guy that Wild Bill is and has been towards Renny, damaging my ego so many times along the way.
Buddy, sorry, we're gonna change the order today. That's full-on pristine roofing wake-up territory. I will not stand for this.
Oh, sorry. My goodness!
No.
Wow! I think you're actually. You're putting me in a position where I have to defend Wild Bill.
I'm standing up for you again.
Treatment. This is harsh treatment, but I will say this. Once it's been called, you can't uncall the pristine roofing wake-up call. So Wild Bill, sorry to do this to you, but Kenny gave you the pristine roofing and siding wake-up call, and you know what that means. Time to give North End Rick the pristine roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy you want down at your place to look at all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. You can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 1-204-237-7663. Listen, if your house needs the pristine roofing wake-up call, they're the people to call. I don't know that Wild Bill needed it, but he got it. I don't suggest, hey, if your house is all done and pristine's already been to your place, don't call him again and do it all over again for no reason. Sometimes Ken calls a pristine roofing wake-up call for no reason, but regardless, it's happened.
No reason if I'm sticking up for you, buddy.
Well, hey, listen, you're my guy. You're my guy. You're my Adam Lowry, okay? You're my Adam Lowry. Elbows up. There he goes. You're also looking mighty fine there tonight, Ken, in the Vittorio Rossi getup. I got to say this. I got a compliment from Murat Atesh. On the way down, he came up and he said he had a couple things he needed to say to me. And Murat Atesh had his Michael Jordan flu game because he wasn't feeling very well and came today and still found the time to give the compliment to the old purple outfit that Renny is rocking here. I think, I think it's just no matter how bad he was feeling, I like to think that my Vittorio Rossi suit kind of picked up his day a little bit, Ken. And of course it would. If you want to have the kind of look that picks people's days up everywhere you go, you know what to do. Head on down to Corden Avenue, walk in, loudly proclaim at Vittorio Rossi that Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will do you upright. The kind of things that can lift people out of their doldrums. Ken, why don't you lift yourself and our audience out of their doldrums and tell us what you saw in this game here tonight?
Yeah, Sean, I mean, it's interesting. And for sure, the Jets are getting full marks for the ability to make a couple of power plays count. And for sure, piling it on in the second period was definitely noteworthy and important for a team that had not scored much. 10 goals in the 5 games. 4 of those 5, 2 or fewer scored by the Jets. So they took care of their end of the bargain. After 0 for 17, they've now gone 4 for 5 with the man advantage. And lo and behold, Davis Payne's unit is clicking on all cylinders. And Sean, the reason why I bring this up, I love the fact that Davis Payne was out there speaking to the media on Monday about the power play when it was struggling. You know what's fun when you're running the power play or the penalty kill that's number 1 in the NHL? Talking about it when it's cruising, like at 4 out of 4 to 5 situation. You know what I love? We talk about accountability all the time. This is a guy who's been an NHL head coach. I love the fact that Davis Payne was out there. He wasn't shying away from things. He wasn't saying this was puck luck. What he was saying was that the Jets needed to get back to their core principles with the man advantage. And what have we seen in the first 2 days of this road trip? Absolute everything about the core principles, right? I mean, it's beautiful to watch. And hey, Rat River Rebel, I was listening, even though Sean thought I was just delaying here while he was tap dancing. I did hear him say that I have the right to be wrong, and I still stood up for him.
Yeah, I heard you laugh. Actually, Ken's on the other side of the wall here because, like I said, they don't let him into the broadcast studio. But when I said that, I actually heard him laugh, and I thought,
I loved
"Oh,
it. I
I'm
loved
not
it.
getting away with the trash talk." But that's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I loved it.
Keep
Sorry,
on going. Back to the
outside of the
buffet.
power play. So a couple other things. What we've been talking about the last while, Sean. The third line, the third line, 2B, whatever you want to call them. Adam Lowry's line needed to be better. They started in that process on Tuesday for me. I thought Nino Niederreiter played his best game in a while. He was all around the blue paint, making things happen, taking hits to make plays, getting involved physically. So today he gets an assist. It's a secondary assist, but he did the good job. And Sean, for me, we talked about it up here because we were watching it together, which I love, by the way. Um, that third line was absolutely doing the blunt force effort. They were all over the place, cycle shifts and doing everything, which is important for them to have success as a line. And it was very impressive. So for me, I thought it was a good job by that line. Yes, later on they got rewarded by the goal on Adam Lowry's tap in. Really nice 3-way play. Niederreiter to Appleton, Appleton to Lowry, Lowry up to 12, chasing his career high of 15. That line was great, even before they got the goal and after they got the goal. What do we talk about this morning? Mark Scheifele's line has been fantastic this season. Fantastic. All of the folks who wanted the line broken up. Yep, the other day. Oh, well, there's another example why outshot 13-3, or shot attempts 23-3 or whatever it was. Well, that line was very good today. They only got one at 5-on-5, fine. But, they did their job. They were a dominant force at times. They were playing keep away at times. Puck movement was great. And Sean, Kyle Connor had only one goal in 9 games, including, coming out of the break and everything else. So he needed to get going. So what did he do? He got going. And how did he score? Off the rush, perfect shot, beats Urson, and he's feeling great. And after that, Sean, on that next penalty kill, incredible pep in his step, right? So that's what Kyle Connor needs to do to get himself rolling. That's what he did. Mark Scheifele, very good in the game. Gabe Vilardi, 3 helpers. Mark Scheifele, 1 and 2 for 3. Kyle Connor, 1 and 1 for 2. Just an impressive showing all around. I thought that line was very good. Hey, I get it. The Jets kind of I don't think they necessarily eased off the pedal, but it just became a strange game. Sean, you pointed it out up here too. Flyers weren't really going for scoring chances at 4-0. They were going to try to run and get big hits when they could. And if they could cheat for offense, they would. So, anyways, I thought the Jets kind of handled it as best they could. Was that their best, absolute template game? No, but you don't expect it to be that way. You didn't expect them to go 2-0, 4-0, 6-0. Strange game. They did have a little lapse late. They cost Eric Comrie a shutout in some ways. But again, perfect shot by Michkov. Shutouts are nice. They're a team stat. I get it. Eric Comrie, they would have loved to have rewarded him with his second shutout. But honestly, at the end of the day, 4-0, 4-1. Jets just needed to snap that, whatever, winless skid, whatever. 3 without a win is, that's not normal for this team this season. So what they were able to do was get back to their game and take a step forward, as you mentioned. I mean, it wasn't their best, but it was pretty darn good for a good chunk of that game. But as you mentioned, I mean, this was not, I would just want to counter this. And I'm not pretending the Jets were at their very best, but like you said, I agree. The biggest difference between Saturday's game, when it was an even game at even strength, was the play of the Flyers. But if we're going to say that sometimes you have to give the other team credit for getting you off their game, I think the combination of the deflating power play goal that you mentioned on the lukewarm call and the Jets taking it to them, that also impacted the Flyers, right? I'm kind of thinking that's got to be kind of both ways. And I know you weren't trying to take credit away from the Jets. You just were saying this wasn't a strike up the brand, get the parade ready moment. And you're right about that. Sometimes you can just play the game that's in front of you.
Well, and so this is a great point right here by Waiters. He says this game never felt in doubt. It doesn't need to be. Not every single game needs to be a masterpiece. Not every single game. Winning and succeeding in the NHL in the regular season is quite simply about putting up points, right? And the Winnipeg Jets have shown throughout the season. And here's one. So the Winnipeg Jets, I thought, like to your point, had a really darn good game here tonight. Okay. Did they have an opponent that kind of fell apart in front of them? No doubt they did. Did they take advantage of that? For sure they did. But to Waiter's point, they'd scored early and they'd kind of made it so that, like, once they scored that second goal, Ken, knowing this Philadelphia Flyers team and the trouble that they have, what did we talk about in the last game that they played the Flyers? The problem with the Flyers is if that you get in a game with them where they've got a little bit of a lead or you're right there and it's 1-1, is this team can grind, right? They can grind and they can take the drag you down into the dirt and drag you down into the mud. But the problem is when you drag a team down into the mud, for the most part, the mud isn't where the goal is. It's not where the action or the scoring is or offense. So when you're that team that can drag its game down into the mud, it usually means you're winning a game 2-1 or 3-2 or something like that. They couldn't really get into playing that style effectively to the degree that they were going to get back into that game, because this team just really can't score goals like that. So what did it turn into, Ken? Like you said, you touched on it, and it was something we talked about upstairs. They seemed disinterested in scoring to get back in that game. They wanted retribution, right? So you saw them start throwing the hits, start throwing things around. I was actually really interested. I want to just talk about it quickly, Ken, because we had the conversation. A lot of the conversations that happened between Ken and I during the games find their way into the show because they're interesting conversations. But I was wondering with the hits that were starting to be thrown around, because I take a look at that last game that Adam Lowry got into that fight afterwards. He said, I didn't like the hit on Mason Appleton, but there was nothing wrong with the hit. I couldn't agree with that statement more. Like, as a team player, you don't like seeing your guys getting unloaded on, but at the same time, it was a clean hit, and I don't want to see hits going out of the game. To be honest with you, I want to see more hits. The league, for my liking, has become too little physical contact. So I actually kind of liked this game tonight, but I was wondering, well, Adam Lowry can't go do this again. Adam Lowry can't head out and be like, guys, you're starting to hit my guys a little too much. I guess I have to fight again. It kind of felt like the Jets had no other option. So what they did was they just said, you know what, we're just going to have to take it. And we're just going to have to go down the other end of the ice and push and score and try and take advantage that way. I actually think it was a good lesson. And it was a good lesson, I thought, mostly because with what the Jets have right now, unless they're going to add at the trade deadline or unless they're going to go and claim a guy like Reeves on waivers, they don't have the ability to keep doing that. And Adam Lowry shouldn't be doing that over and over again. Personally, I thought him doing it in the Islanders game was too soon for him to be doing it after the Ottawa game. So as the Jets are constructed right now, this was the best way to handle that, to take the hits, to absorb the hits, to just say, listen, this is hockey. It's only going to get harder as the season goes on. It's only going to get harder into the playoffs. It's going to be more of a grind. So while the Philadelphia Flyers, I thought, kind of didn't show up tonight in the game the way that they needed to, the physicality that they brought to the game, I thought was a good lesson the Winnipeg Jets could learn from and take and go into the playoffs and say, listen, you know what? Are we going to get hit? Are you going to have to pay the price? Yes, you are. And let's pay the price, move the puck up ice, and go make them pay on the scoreboard.
Yeah, totally fair. The one thing I would just push back on a little bit, I'm not disputing the theory, and I understand where you're coming from, and you're right. Adam Lowry can't be fighting every 2 or 3 games, but I think that one was more a matter of kind of trying to get, I wouldn't say like get back up to speed when it comes to fighting. I would just say that let's not forget that Adam had a month between games, essentially, right? I mean, it was almost a month, or anyway, more than a month between games. Now, part of that was because
it was a month and a day.
Sorry,
it was a month and a day.
So again, what my point being that Adam Lowry had a lot of pent up emotion. He was interested in scrapping at the home game before the game in Ottawa also, but had no takers in that game. So I just think there's a lot of pent up energy. So for me, I don't have any problem with him going a couple times in a, 3 or 4 game span, whatever it ended up being. But your point is very valid. Adam Lowry's too valuable to the Winnipeg Jets to be spending 5 minutes plus whenever the next whistle is in the box, especially in a game where the physical nature will get ratcheted up. Bang on. So today is a great example. I'm 100% with you. I'm on the opposite side of the other day. I like that he went, and I have no problem with it. And, unfortunate for Anders Lee, but whatever. That the fact the Jets didn't get a spark, even though Adam Lowry won the fight, that's a chance you take if you're Adam Lowry. It was still done for the right reason. But to your point, he's too valuable a player to be spending too much time in the box. So I'm half with you, and I also am supporting the reasons behind it. So,
yeah.
But your point. A game like today, the only other way that things get calmed down is if Logan Stanley goes and finds somebody. I'm not saying he has to go fight Nick Delorier again, but and this is the other thing, Sean, and we know this. Especially it because you dropped the mitts a lot more than I did. Logan Stanley wouldn't even have to go and fight somebody, but you better find somebody in the crease or whisper in somebody's ear or let somebody know to calm down a little bit, or else otherwise the gloves are going to come off eventually. But I agree with you. And we've talked about this all year. One of the most important things for the Jets is their disciplined nature, not chasing around for retribution.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're scared of it. It means they take a number, and if the situation arises for them to get to settle a score, they do it. They don't go and say, "Oh, we have to settle the score because the Jets are only not playing this team again this season." So that's a smart way to handle your business. You take a number, you don't forget, but you don't have to be chasing after it to the point where it impacts your structure and style of play. So I am with you. I applaud their disciplined nature. They weren't afraid to get physical, but they didn't go chasing after guys trying to run people because they were being run by others. So I'm with you 100% on that.
There's nothing that irritates me more than when someone tries to take what I said out of context. Dom Zappy is saying, come on, Sean Reeves isn't a good player. Maybe if this was 2018. I said, unless the Jets go out and claim him off waivers. I never said that they should go out and claim him off waivers. Don't be trying to put words in my mouth. If you want to argue what I say, argue what I say. Don't argue what you're trying to tell people that I said when it's not true. Truth is what we're searching for on this show here. I did want to add just quickly before we get to the power play, just you touched on the third line. Had a conversation with Scott Arneal before that Flyers game. And essentially what he talked about to me was that, with Adam Lowry out and with Mason Appleton out, that line had just, it had been having flashes, shifts here and there of like what we knew of that line. I talked a little bit about this on the show since. Tonight, Ken, was the first night it really felt to me that you had like a signature Jets third line game out there. And it doesn't surprise me that it ends up being one of the nights that they score. They generated a whole lot in that first period. And I do definitely think that in that first period, I know, Ken, you touched on the first line. They actually kind of got caved in that first period. Their things weren't going well. And if you remember at the very beginning of the season where a lot of the audience or a segment of the audience was calling to have the first line broken up before it went on the heater and became the best trio in hockey, what allowed the Jets to survive and get that line on its feet was that third line just going out and having dominating games where they just controlled the play, kept the puck in the opposition zone, scored here and there. That third line can do a lot of picking up when the rest of the Winnipeg Jets aren't clicking at absolutely 100%. And I thought this was a good old signature third line game, which is good. You're talking about 20 games left in the season. That line is very, very a massive part of the identity of this hockey team. So getting them playing like that again is something that's going to be very, very good for the team. Okay, let's get to the power play and just kind of touch on people are going to want us to get into trade talk, Ken. So no doubt. Before we get into that, no doubt, the way that they were tonight, absolutely sizzling on those first two power plays to get those two power play goals that the Winnipeg Jets power play has most definitely received. Well, it's paid off to have the patience to slowly work forward with that power play unit. And hey, if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to Cambrian.mb to book an appointment online. Ken, what are you seeing from that power play that you think is working well?
Yeah, just a little bit more hunger. I mean, it's not that they weren't trying before. You're seeing them again. Confidence for sure. Confidence allows you to snap it around, but they just got more back on a little bit more of an attack mentality and a lot of puck touches. We've talked about the puck touches where the Jets have either 4 guys or 5 guys who touch the puck in a sequence, and on the Ehlers goal, it was a puck that went to Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor shot it. It was tipped by Gabe Vilardi, ended up on the stick of Mark Scheifele. Scheifele goes backdoor to Nikolai Ehlers, and it's in the back of the net. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that Josh Morrissey had a touch on that one as well. I think that they had at least 4 touches out of the 5, and I think maybe all 5 guys even had it. Somebody will correct me if I am mistaken here. On the other one, great job of getting to the net. Scheifele, again, and I asked him about it, it was such an awkward rebound, Sean, and it was kind of in between his feet, and he still found a way to like hammer his backhand home, right? It was a really impressive thing because it was a tough puck to hit based on the angle it came out towards him. So that was really impressive as well. So both times the top unit really do some nice work, and great. I also love that play too. It was one that we hadn't seen. We talk about different looks. We've seen Gabe Vilardi in the high slot, but normally your one-time pass is coming either from in front of you or beside you. This pass from Kyle Connor came from behind him, and he still managed to hit a one-timer, Sean, and then the puck bounced to Scheifele, and he hammered it home. I like that wrinkle and the creativity there. What did you think of that effort?
Well,
and it was kind of a softer pass too, which is interesting based on the angle that he had to him.
So I want to first say what I thought didn't work about the Jets power play the last time that they played this team, because this is what happens. If you're the team that went out, you shut down the power play, you kind of stick with what you have. Right. And so what they did is they kind of forced the Jets to do that thing where they went up and around, right? To Scheifele, up to Morrissey. I think I had actually described it that game as a return. I did. I described it that game as a return to the old Jets power play, the one that used to hold on to the puck in the offensive zone for 2 minutes and pass the puck around, and it looked really nice. And they held the possession, and the crowd gets into it, especially if it's at home, because it just feels like it's building towards something. And then the shot to the net never comes. And we used to talk about, even last year, we used to talk about them just kind of getting the puck to the net. And so what I thought that Philadelphia did really well is they kind of protected they stretched out and pushed the Jets. And then what they did was they made sure that the guy in front of the net was covered. Gabe Vilardi, they had their guy on them. So they really kind of pushed the Jets to the outside and just gave them the outside and allowed them to kind of pass the puck around there, but it never made it inside. Tonight, I thought what the Jets did was they were really direct at going and attacking the middle of the ice. That area that they were able to kind of like stretch the Jets out, and then there was kind of nothing in that middle area. And what happens when you do that is the right thing to do. And this is, I think, one of the things that makes the Jets so dangerous. For the most part, if you don't protect that middle of the ice, guys like Ehlers have been really good at getting into that bumper spot, or guys like Gabe Vilardi do exactly what Gabe Vilardi does. You get the puck down low to him, and then he's in tight in front of the net, and boom, it's in the back of the net. Or like we saw from Nick Ehlers last game, where he did the same thing. If you're not going to protect that area of the ice, they'll go there. So I thought what happens well, and what makes this Jets power play so good is that they can attack from the middle of the ice, but if you collapse and protect that inside of the ice, they're very good at moving the puck off to the side and getting off to the side goals, like both goals were tonight. And so what I thought the Winnipeg Jets did in this game that they didn't do against the Philadelphia Flyers in their first game is they attacked the middle of the ice like they were going straight down Broadway, forcing the Flyers to collapse, and then they tried moving the puck off to the wings and off to the sides, and that's what I thought worked with them tonight. They're a little bit of I don't want to say a luck factor. The puck, kind of getting redirected. Sometimes when there's a contested puck, it takes a team that's defending out of their defending mode, because now if you can grab that contested puck, throw it down the other way, all of a sudden you're potentially on the attack, but you're definitely, thinking at that moment, whoa, if we get that puck now, I need to get to the bench and I need to change, and all those different kind of thoughts. I thought that allowed, Mark Scheifele, who, kind of picked that puck out of the air and got it over. That's one of the reasons they find Nikolai Ehlers the way that they did. But this is just another example of the reason the Winnipeg Jets power play is so good is because it's not a one-trick pony. It's not just like over to Kyle Connor and it's a one-timer. They've got that option. They've got the Scheifele one-timer option. It doesn't happen as much, but Josh Morrissey from the top, bumper, down low, all those different kind of things. The Jets can burn you off to the wings on the side. They can burn you right in the heart of the ice. It's why they're so good. And what they did last time they played the Philadelphia Flyers was allowed the Flyers to take away one kind of offense and just focus on eliminating the other kind of offense. They made them make a choice on this night, and once they made the choice to protect the middle of the ice, they moved it to the outsides, and that's why you get two kind of tap-in goals on the side of the net. Ken, we should get to trade talk, but first, why don't you give Sweet Lou a shout-out?
You bet. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, whether you're buying, selling, curious about what that house on the corner is going for, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin, at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including our podcast.
This is by T. Willie, says, poll question. Is Rennie's the Jets should sign Ryan Reeves take worse than Scott Billings? Logan Stanley is the next Zdeno Chara take, yes or no? This is slander of the highest order of him even trying to associate me with Scott Billings. Logan Stanley is the next Zdeno Chara take, which, if you will remember, in real time, I called out as ridiculous. I think there was a lot of people in the chat room who were very supportive of that at the time, maybe even T. Will, I have to say. But the other thing I wanted to bring up here, Ken, before we move on, Michael Downs picked up on what I thought was subtly one of the most amazing plays that we've seen. A lot of people would have passed by and it would have been nothing, but Vilardi was a centimeter away from burying that shot after he chopped the defender's stick right as he received it. The guy might have the best combination of hands and hand-eye on the team, lock him up long-term. I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to do this, but Michael Downs nailed this. He had a pass coming towards his stick and the defender had his stick there, and what Vilardi did was he just gave like a little slap on his stick right before he received the pass, and that created like a foot of space that allowed him to get the shot off the way that he did. This is brilliant, right? Like, this is like, some guys are brilliant with stick lifts. I don't think, Ken, I've ever seen that before, where a guy was receiving a pass and right before getting that pass slaps away another defender's stick to create a little bit of open ice. This is brilliant. If I were a skills coach, if there's any skills coaches out there watching or listening, go look at this play. I'm sure Dave Cameron with the Winnipeg Jets would take a look at this. But this is brilliance. You should be teaching this as a skills coach to all your players, because if you can teach guys to receive passes like this, I'd never seen it before. I'm guessing, Ken, this is a play that we're going to we're going to start seeing in the NHL more and more as people catch on to this, because that was just absolutely brilliant. Although, Ken, not that easy to do. But kids these days, and the way that they're able to build on their skill, it is something else. Okay, we're going to get into trade talks.
No, I mean, so Noah Cates is chasing Vilardi. He thinks he's caught him. Gabe Vilardi.
Well, he did.
Well, he caught him, but he didn't actually. We talk about this all the time. If you don't take his stick, you don't have him checked. And in this case, he thought he had his stick in position to check him. And as you mentioned, the way that Kyle Connor sauced it to him, he thought he was going to be able to break it up. And then Vilardi, just an absolutely brilliant play. Love the play.
He had his stick. People aren't used to that was a case of the best offense is a good defense. Noah Cates, I don't know that this is my point, Ken. I don't think that is a defendable play. Like,
he needs to be harder on his stick. That's the only way you defend it.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not like Gabe Vilardi isn't a strong guy, right?
No, I agree. But his job is to tie up his stick. That's his only job in that situation.
But Ken, he's also, like you're saying, trying to pick a sauce pass out of the air to defend a sauce pass play. Kind of hard to be squeezing your stick when you need to have like the supple hands to knock a pass out of the air and break this up. I just think that's a near indefensible play if a guy does that to you. That
totally fair. But I mean, he doesn't have to break up the play. He just has to prevent Vilardi from being able to shoot it, is my point. If you're leaning on his stick, he can't bat it away. But I'm not taking anything away from Vilardi. I thought it was a brilliant play. I'm not taking anything away from Cates either. I think he caught him so off guard that he wasn't ready to have his stick not be lifted in that situation. I love the play by Vilardi, and I agree with you. I think more guys are going to do it. That's for sure.
Well, I'm going to say the fact that you're trying to take away from Gabe Vilardi.
Well, I'm not trying to take away anything.
No, it's too late.
I'm saying I'm calling it.
The ball is moving. It's rolling.
That's crazy. You're not listening to me. You're not. Don't be doing what Dom did to you.
I was trying to do what Dom did to you. I was trying to do, and you stopped me. I was just about to give you the Flame and Comfort hot take of the game award, but
that's a fan award, buddy.
Well done. Well, no, I was actually the first recipient of that award. I was going to share it around with you. So let's go in this direction. Twice over earned by C-Mac, who says maybe add in Keegan Colasar out of Vegas when they dump him for some crazy trade. Jets scoop him up. That's not happening. They love Keegan Colasar in Vegas.
And they should.
Ryan Pullock, let's grab him from Lou. Ryan Pullock is not going anywhere. I actually, like I said, he's from the Roblin area. So my uncle and aunt
Grandview.
Good friends with his parents. He married a Long Island gal who, typically hockey players, I think for the most part, they call the shots in the family. Hey, honey, I'm the breadwinner. We got to go here because this is where I'm getting traded or whatever. This is where the best opportunity is. It sounds like his wife's family is very well to do, and they don't need to go around chasing opportunities. He's happy in Long Island. I don't think he's going anywhere. So I don't know if you knew that, C-Mac, but regardless, you're 0 for 2 on your takes here, and that's worthy. Going 0%. That's worthy of winning the Hot Take Award on the Kenny and Renny Show. So there it is. That's your KNR Hot Take, brought to you by Flame and Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth-related. If you've got a hearth, they've got the product you need. And after they've been doing this for 50 years, heating up your world, Flame and Comfort is moving soon. You'll find it's going to be one of the most impressive showrooms you've seen in Western Canada. You don't need your hot takes to keep that warm feeling inside. All you got to do, folks, is visit Flame and Comfort. All right, Ken, let's move.
Do you have the address there? Do you have the address?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that for another show.
All right.
Okay. I don't think their new place is open yet. Anyways, this is for off the camera. Let's get into it. So, Ken, just open space on the bingo card. Where do you want to take the trade talks?
Yeah, just an interesting day all around in terms of, Carson Soucy's a guy we talked about at the end of last show, Sean, right? So to me, he goes off the board. to the New York Rangers. So impressive job by them. Rangers are doing an interesting thing, buying and selling, right? They moved Riley Smith back to the Vegas Golden Knights, original misfit. Love the fit there. He's a guy who is so well respected by his teammates and the coaching staff. I think that's a really smart pickup. What we knew about Vegas, they're so strong down the middle, but they needed a little bit of winger depth. They've got Brandon Saad. Now they got Riley Smith back. That's going to make them a little bit more dangerous. So smart move, in my opinion, but also smart move by the Rangers to pick up some a feisty physical defenseman from the Vancouver Canucks. Had the GWG last night, Sean. We were checking out the game. So that's interesting. Oilers move for Jake Wallman. We know they needed to upgrade their defense, so you're not going to rip them for doing so. But it's a pretty heavy price for Stan Bowman to pay. So to me, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's a lot to pay. But again, if he can provide strong puck movement on the second or third pairing and give you some second power play time, well, it's going to be worth it. But it's a first round draft pick. So what it's reinforcing to us, Sean, is that the prices are high, which means that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to have to hit a high price in order to hit whether it's a double or a triple or a home run tomorrow. That's just kind of the point for me. But I still feel the exact same way as I did after Tuesday's game. I think the Jets have to add a forward, primarily a second line center, whether it's Brock Nelson or someone else, whether Ryan O'Reilly somehow becomes available. We don't expect him to. Maybe it's somebody else that we haven't thought of. To me, I'd put it this way, Sean. Can the Jets make the Tomas Hertl trade that Vegas made last year? A guy that we weren't expecting to be available. He was available. He had some term available, and he was moved to a very good team. And then they also have to add a third pairing defenseman that plays with some bite and can move up in the lineup if he has to. That's sort of where I'm at. We'll maybe bounce some other ideas around, but for right now, that's what we're going to be monitoring tomorrow, Sean, right? And Luke Schenn was one of the guys we wondered about. And Luke Schenn went in I'm just going to call it a strange deal. It's not strange that anyone would want Luke Schenn as a culture carrier and guy that could help their team. But the Pittsburgh Penguins are not going to be in the playoffs. Now, Luke Schenn has 1 year left on his deal. Maybe he wants to extend and play with Crosby to finish off his career. But we thought he made sense because he is, he checks a lot of the boxes that the Jets are looking for. Now, quickly, Rasmus Ristolainen was someone who really impressed both of us on Saturday, Sean, in the Jets home game against Philly that was won by the Flyers in a shootout. Today, again, the other night, just under 19 minutes, I think, for Ristolainen. Today, 20 minutes and 4 seconds. Wasn't as involved offensively. He had 7 shots on net the other day, only 1 today. He had 3 takeaways, 2 block shots. I thought he was, involved, but not maybe as many hits as we saw the other night either. But anyways, still someone I think of interest for the Jets. But we also know he is a guy that John Tortorella loves. So, is that mean there's less of an impetus to move him? Yes, unless the Flyers get something that can help them in the present and to the future. So we'll still be watching his deal or his name come up. But again, it's most likely that Cheveldayoff will try to grab someone that no one is thinking about, but it gets tougher because once players get moved, Sean, you go on to speculate about other players who could be moved. Now, Brock Nelson, super interesting. Been trying to do as much digging on this subject as we can. Obviously, Brock Nelson is an interesting spot. He has 4 kids. He loves Long Island. He just became, moved up to 4th place all alone on the Islanders' all-time games played list. 901, passing Bobby Nystrom, who scored one of the most important goals in Islander history. And the celebration is top-notch for those you youngsters who haven't been watching YouTube highlights from the 1980s. Nelson has 4 kids, loves the area. There's still, in my opinion, they are still trying to get Brock Nelson extended and signed. If that doesn't happen, Lou Lamoriello still hasn't decided if they will be sellers because they feel that they're still close enough. But you will see what happens. Brock Nelson has trade protection, 6-team no trade. Well, most of the time the Canadian teams are on that list, Sean. But this is a guy from Warroad, Minnesota, played at UND. I personally think, I don't have confirmation on this, I personally think Brock Nelson would waive to sign or to go to the Winnipeg Jets and then see what happens in the summertime. I think he might find out it's a pretty darn good situation for him. But again, there's a lot of ifs that have to be unraveled before Brock Nelson becomes a Winnipeg Jet. And Kevin Cheveldayoff's going to have to hit a really high price, and that's just the way it's going to be.
The interesting part about this, and if there's a loss that I know a lot of people were looking at that Islanders game and didn't like the way the Jets played. I thought it was a well-played game on both sides. But if there's a missed opportunity this season, that one may be the one, because to your point, and Ken, I don't know how much you put into our guy CJ suggesting that, right now the Rangers are looking at just holding on to him and not moving him, which I think would be kind of disastrous for the Winnipeg Jets. But it's that if the Jets win that game against the Islanders, their outlook really, really changes. Like, it's one of those ones where, like, if you take a look at their chances of making the playoffs, if the Jets would have won that game, their chances of making the playoffs probably go way down. Instead, the Islanders win that game and had themselves within what was it? I think it was 3 points at that time.
It was 3. Yeah.
Now,
about 6 teams or 5 teams to leapfrog.
Right, but here we go. Here we go. The Boston Bruins, one of those teams. They have 3 games in hand on the Boston Bruins. They're only 1 point back, so essentially they're past them, right? And the Boston Bruins lost on this night, as did the Detroit Red Wings, 3 points ahead of them and an extra game played. So win your game in hand here and now. All of a sudden, you're right there. Columbus lost on this night. I believe the New York Rangers lost on this night. So if you take a look at the last couple of days and how they've shaken down for the New York Islanders, they really can go with the luxury of saying, you know what, maybe we're going to make it. They did it the last couple of years, Ken. They went into the trade deadline thinking we're going to take a run at this, and we're below the playoff line and fought their way. If there's a team in any position right now on either conference who should be thinking right now, we think we can do this, we think we can get in there, it's the New York Islanders. So the Jets really had an opportunity, I think, to bury them and didn't. And so now that puts them in a little bit of a dilly of a pickle. I don't know about you, Ken, in that situation. To me, Brock Nelson's the guy. I think he's the perfect fit. I've been saying it. I've been talking about it for a long time. The thing is, I was talking on, I don't know how many people saw before the game started. I was on Hockey Central and we were talking about the Jets needs and the Jets issues. Clearly, it's going into a place where it's an expensive trade deadline. And clearly, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff is maybe more so. And I'll share this after the trade deadline, depending how things go. Ken and I had a conversation where I think I've got a beat on exactly how the Winnipeg Jets handle their trade deadline. We'll talk about that tomorrow after the trade deadline has passed. But Kevin Cheveldayoff, I think, for the most part, maybe more so than the vast majority, definitely more so than a guy like Julien Brisebois, has an asset protection mindset that a lot of other guys don't necessarily have. They're in the, we think this guy helps us win business, we're going to get that guy. Kevin Cheveldayoff, I don't think is necessarily that, but I think he should be in this situation right now. Unless Brock Nelson has been pulled off the market and it's entirely serious, and he had that emotional post-game interview on the bench after they beat the Jets, and that kind of brought him to a realization that, maybe this is a place to make it work, and lose saying we'd like to make it work, and now they go towards that and are confident they're going to be able to re-sign him. This is the guy that, here's the unfortunate position that that Kevin Cheveldayoff finds himself in this year. Talked with the Philadelphia Flyers brass. They're not actively moving anyone. They're not calling anyone. So if you want a guy, you have to call and you have to give them an offer. You have to basically say, here you go. This is, we're going to meet your price, or I'm calling and I'm offering you this. And the guy goes out the door. It's that good position to be in. And there's just a ton of teams like that. Like, Ken, you talked about that in the East, and people are bringing up, T. Konopali brought up Arbor Jacki and guys like that. And it's like Montreal is 2 points back of the playoffs right now. And I'll take a look at where they are in their game right now. Someone could maybe help me with that. They're 2-2 in overtime against the Oilers. So they've got a point in that game here tonight. And so they're going to be within 1 point of the playoffs, or in a tie for the last playoff spot. Although the Ottawa Senators will have a game in hand regardless. So Montreal isn't really looking at dealing. Detroit's not looking at dealing. Like you said, the New York Rangers are doing something where they're not buyers, they're not sellers. What they're doing, Ken, is what the Buffalo Sabres have been trying to do. They don't think their roster has it, but they don't want to tear down. So they're saying, let's move out a guy we don't think fits and bring in a guy that we think fits. So that's how they're adding JT Miller. That's how they're adding, certain guys and moving other guys out. A lot of teams are trying to do that. The Boston Bruins, I don't know, after a loss here tonight, maybe that's going to put them into seller territory, but the Columbus Blue Jackets aren't selling. The Ottawa Senators aren't selling. It doesn't look like the Canucks are going to sell, or the Flames. Maybe the St. Louis Blues after Parayko goes out, but they're just 2 points back. Utah wins tonight. They're just 3 points back. There's not a lot of dance partners. There's not a lot of available guys. So this is just a year that I think if you truly are the Winnipeg Jets and you think you've got a shot and you think we need, don't go out there and be like, well, there's this guy or there's this guy or there's this guy or there's this guy. Go out and find who's the guy. And if Brock Nelson is the guy, then meet the price. Period. Sometimes that's just what you got to do. You can see they did that in Tampa Bay. A lot of people think that's crazy, and they've had other crazy trades in the past. But out of that, they get guys like Brandon Hagel. They get guys like Nick Paul. Now they've got Yanni Gord and Oliver Bjorkstrand tonight, who went out and scored the game winner. Bjorkstrand scores the game winner, assisted by Yanni Gord, and Nikita Kucherov is in there, right? So this to me is, you've said this before. You said he's going to have to pay. I put it like this on the show. I said, this is just going to be a time where I think Kevin Cheveldayoff is just going to have to get off his wallet. I know he likes to be that guy who goes and waits for other things to happen and then waits right until the 11th hour and then tries to find that GM who, it's a game of musical chairs and there's no chairs left. And suddenly, well, there's no one left. So you got to come to me and you got to meet my price. This is one of those situations where, it looks like Lou's going to make it so that if Brock Nelson is available, I think it's just a matter of you got to meet the price because seems to be the right guy. I think they got to go out and add on the back end as well. We could have dug into this a little bit more. You got something to say?
Just one last one on Nelson, just to reinforce what you said about not knocking the Islanders out, Sean. Now the problem for the Jets, at least in the short term, not in the long term, and it doesn't matter over one game, but the problem is if the Jets make a trade for Brock Nelson tomorrow, the Islanders are in San Jose, so it's going to be incredibly difficult for Brock Nelson to get back. Like if they were here on the East Coast, easy to get him to New Jersey, but he would be unlikely to be able to play. But that doesn't matter in the big picture. They'd have plenty of games. They'd still have 18 games left for him to get acclimated prior to the playoffs. But it's just another layer to the onion on the Brock Nelson saga, at least in the short term.
Yes, agreed. Okay, Ken, time to get to our Kenny and Renny OG's Johnson Group got you covered play of the game. Let me handle this.
Yeah, this one's yours.
Let me handle this. This one, there's a play. It's basically a 2-on-2, and Josh Morrissey is the higher defenseman, and his skate gets taken out from underneath him, and boom, he's down. I thought it was going to be a penalty. I thought it could have been a penalty. It was far more a penalty than the ridiculous trip that was called on Neil Pionk earlier on that ended up resulting in the second goal. And he's down. He's out. The guy's all alone in front of the net. If you go back and watch that play, I don't know how it's possible that Josh Morrissey gets up and closes the gap and breaks up the pass to the player that tripped him all alone in front of the net. It's one of these things where it is uncanny, the closing speed that Josh Morrissey has in his ability to defend. What it does is it means he can be really aggressive up ice, and even if guys beat him, he usually catches them before they get down ice anyway. But this was the most remarkable example I've ever seen of him closing. He should not have been able to get back into that play. He did. It was magical and well worthy of the Kenny and Renny OGs, the Johnson Group. We've got you covered play of the game. Unbelievable. And hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. You get involved with that. Maybe it won't be, I don't know if you'd call it unbelievable, the Chamber Plan. Probably too good to be true, though. So you should definitely check it out. And thanks for checking that out. That was the Kenny and Renny OGs. The Johnston Group got you covered play of the game. Ken, what is your keg save of the game? # keg save of the game.
Yeah, I like he made a really nice save off Tyson Forster, but the one that we're going to choose, and Sean, both looked at each other. We're like, Nick Delorier had the 2 best scoring chances for the Philadelphia Flyers today. And I'm not knocking Nick Delorier. He's been in the league a long time and done a lot. He's a very tough guy, earned everything that he got. But if you're the Philadelphia Flyers, Nick Delorier can't be your most dangerous threat on a team that has Matvei Michkov, Travis Konechny, and a number of other players. There were a lot of players who were involved, including Forster, who I really liked, and Noah Cates. But the best scoring chance, I think, was the one off of Delorier, and that's what we're going to go with, or that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, you nailed it. I'm going to go with that. That's both our # the keg save of the game. Doesn't matter what we think, though. Share with us your # the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. And our winner from our last show, that would be Bobby B. Bobby B, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me an email. I'll have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. And Ken, that brings us to our # TCB lamplighter of the game. What do you got?
Yeah, 2 highlight reel specials on the power play, Sean. But to me, we talk about repeatable goals, and you talked about the Jets using the front of the net and the deep center position as a safety valve and an outlet. And that is why the Jets had the ability to get on a rush chance. I love the breakout. I love the ability to Mark Scheifele to get it wide, to get the puck wide out to Kyle Connor. And for a guy who had generated so many scoring chances coming out of the Four Nations face-off, we know it didn't end well for Kyle at the Four Nations face-off, even though he put on a brave face and said all the right things. Given the number of chances he was having, he was just a little bit snake-bitten. And hey, Kyle Connor only had 1 goal in 9 games going into this game today, but he had tons of points. He had 10 points in that span. So I'm not knocking his production, not at the least, but Kyle's a dangerous scorer. 1 goal in 9 games is an awfully long time. And today he kind of got back to the things that he does extremely well. And he used his speed to absolutely put a laser beam past Sam Ersson. So I'm going with that, even though, again, both power play goals very impressive in their own right. I'm going with that play as my lamplighter.
For time's sake, I'm going to go with it as well. So that's our # TCB lamplighter of the game. Share with us yours. You're automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. If you can't wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you yours, head on down to 11290 Kenniston and grab your own, along with a lot of other great beer choices and great food. And that brings us to our winner of our TCB lamplighter from the last show. That would be formerly who actually won the keg gift certificate about 4 or 5 shows ago. If you don't like that, well, maybe all you sucky boo-boos should stop disappearing when the Jets lose a couple games and just leave the field to all the folks who come no matter what, and just increase their odds of winning. Formerly taking advantage of that. So you know what to do. Formerly direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me an email. I will send you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. You are about to find out it is the nectar of the gods. All right, Kenny and I got to get going here. We're hopping into a vehicle and heading up to New Jersey. I'll be on the air early tomorrow morning, ready to do our trade coverage on Sportsnet. Love it if you'd come check us out. Ken's got something to say before we do go, though.
Sorry, just because, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus here. Flame and Comfort, 318 Logan Avenue, and you can reach Dwayne Bennett and his fine staff at 204-943-5263 to our newest sponsor. Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Okay, thanks, Ken. Great job. Thank you to all of you. Great to see you back in such. Oh, sorry. One other minor move by the Jets today. Chris Drieger, the Winnipegger, acquired from the Florida Panthers for Capo Kakinen in a reversal of third goalie on the depth chart. Minor move.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, thank you to all of you for showing up. If you appreciate the conversation happening in this space, we implore you to appreciate our sponsors like Flame and Comfort, who fight to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Vittorio Rossi, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing, Sweet Lou Furlan, once again, Flame and Comfort, the Kenny and Renny OGs in the Johnston Group, the Keg, and of course, TransCanada Brewing Company. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. Let's reconvene, do this all over again, talk about the trade deadline, talk about the game, talk about everything. Let's just talk about life, folks, and we'll do it on the Kenny and Renny Show. Hoping to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.